Did everybody check their clock? No, you're not running late for work. It's time. Everybody's favorite time of the week. The time of the week where we ask ourselves if more people are assholes. Hey babes. Welcome or welcome back to Moonbae Crochet. It is Brandy and today I'm here to read you more r/am I the asshole Reddit stories that pertain to crochet, knit, all things crafty. I'd like to quickly preface this by saying thank you guys so much for all the love and support you've been showing on these videos. These have been getting significantly more views than anything else that I post on here, so that, I don't know, it always feels kind of good. I'm glad to see that you guys are enjoying. In case you are new here, my name is Brandy. I love to post crochet content on here, sharing patterns or projects that I've made, having a cute little crochet chit chat storytelling time, just getting cute, cozy, and crafty with you all. So if any of that kind of content sounds interesting to you, I would love it if you would consider subscribing, sticking around. We have lots of fun here. And without further ado, let's just hop right into today's stories. The first one we're going to read today is titled, Am I the Asshole for Saying I Would Never Knit Something for My Mother Again? 3 weeks ago, I gave my mother a beanie I had knitted for her. Last week, I saw her unraveling it and knitting it again. This means she undid my gift and quote-unquote did it right. It made me feel bad, but I said nothing to her back then and planned to say nothing but never knit anything for her again. Today, she was opening a bag I had tied with a knot and said something like, "Sorry to ruin your masterpiece," and giggled, and this triggered me. It reminded me of the beanie, and I said to her something like, "Wow, you just love to undo anything I do, I guess." She looked confused, and then I said, "Like the beanie I knitted for you? You just had to undo it. I'm never going to knit anything for you ever again." She got upset, said I was misunderstanding the situation, that she loved the beanie, but it didn't fit correctly, and she was trying to do it again so that she could actually wear it, that it was rude of me to say I would never knit anything for her ever again, and proceeded to stop talking to me. So, am I the asshole? I can obviously see that this person got tagged not the asshole, and while I will say, yeah, maybe not the asshole entirely, I do think it was a little presumptuous to immediately, hop to reading so far into, your mom is undoing a bag that you tied with a knot. She's just making a little joke like, "Oh, sorry to undo your masterpiece here," to automatically, trigger you and get you all upset over the fact that she was undoing the beanie, which, yes, I would understand. That would hurt, but for the trigger to be the bag, it's a little dramatic in my opinion. I just feel like the proper time to say something would have been when you noticed her undoing the beanie and been like, "Hey, what's going on here? What happened?" Because I don't know, I feel like when you let your feelings fester like this, they present themselves in unplanned ways, kind of like this. You kind of blew up at her over something and she's like, what's going on right now? However, I will say that the fact that she's telling you that she's undoing the beanie because it didn't fit her and she just wanted to make it so that she could wear it, I think that she should have taken it to you and been like, "Hey, do you think you could fix this so that it can fit me?" But who knows, maybe since she knows how to knit or whatever, maybe she was nervous that giving it to you and being like, "Hey, can you fix this because it doesn't fit?" Maybe she was scared that you would gotten upset at that because I don't know. I mean, look at the way that you reacted over her untying a bag that was knotted and saying, "Sorry to undo your masterpiece." I don't know. Maybe not an asshole, but definitely maybe just work on some stuff, Is my camera angle terrible? It feels funny to me. Is that better? I don't know. Something feels off. Is that better? Maybe a little. Okay, I don't know. Whatever. We're moving on. Anyway, let's see what other people have to say. This one says, "Not the asshole. I crochet and my feelings would be so hurt. The least she could have done is tell you and give you the chance to fix it yourself, or at least tell you before she fixed it so that you didn't think she just hated your work. In all fairness though, you probably should have brought up that your feelings were hurt right away instead of waiting for another annoyance and then bringing it up then. But I still don't think that you are an ass for this. My feelings would be really hurt if I spent my time making something and the recipient unraveled it just to use the yarn for their own project." Actually, yeah. I just kind of thought about it in a way the mom is kind of redoing the beanie just so it fits her. But yeah, thinking about it in the way of if I gave somebody a crochet blanket and then they unraveled it all just so that they could use the yarn for their own knitting or crochet project or something like that, I would be devastated. That's not cool at all. So yeah, I can definitely see that. Jeez. This person says, how old are you and your mom? The quote unquote stopped talking to me has me wondering. And somebody replied, the asshole mother sounds like she's 10 years old. Oh my god. And this one says, not the asshole. And the fact that she knits herself makes it double asshole behavior of her. She knows exactly how much work it takes to make a handmade item and still would prefer to undo your work and use your yarn for her own project than cherish the time and effort you put into making her something. She can make her own damn knit pieces if she wants something so badly. Just buy her yarn if she asks for something and wash your hands of her. Yeah, you know, thinking about it this way, I am definitely like, yeah, that would be very bothersome. So again, like, no, not an asshole, but again, still, I do kind of agree with that first commenter that was like, you should have told her something the second you noticed it. Like, don't let things like this fester, you know, don't let things like this, don't bottle them because they manifest themselves in other bad ways, you know. Next story. This story is titled, Am I the Asshole for Asking My Cousin Who Doesn't Knit to Give Me Our Deceased Grandmother's Knitting Needles? My grandmother taught my cousins and I how to knit when we were old enough to follow instructions, usually around 8 to 9 years of age. Out of 20 plus grandchildren, I was the only one to stick with it. When my grandmother passed away, all of the grandchildren were all given an opportunity to request items from my grandmother's possessions. I asked only for her knitting needle kit. My other cousin asked for multiples of her jewelry, vintage perfume bottles, silver combs, etc. My younger cousin, who doesn't knit, not only requested some of above, but also the knitting needle kit. Through some debate, my mom and my aunt were arguing over who deserved the needles. My mom relented because she didn't want to fight during a difficult time. My cousin ended up getting the knitting needles. I got a signature perfume my grandmother loved wearing. My aunt swore they were the original glass bottles my grandmother insisted on keeping and refilling. I knew they weren't because the tops were plastic, not the beautiful frosted glass I remember growing up. Anyway, I was upset, but let it go. I also received small inheritance, which I was grateful for. With it, I bought a knitting set and yarn. Fast forward, it's Thanksgiving, and my cousin brings up that she has been cleaning out her attic. She mentions she stumbled on some of our grandmother's things, including said needles. These sentimental items are in her attic. Later on, I'm helping her clean up. She's wearing my grandmother's wedding ring. I ask her if that was the other item she asked for. She explains everything she ended up receiving, which was much larger inheritance, $10,000, and far more valuables, including the perfume bottles I supposedly got. I asked her if she's using the knitting needles. She says no, and I ask her if she would be open to the idea of letting me have them and use them. She said she'd think about it, and the rest of the night went on. At some point during the night, my cousin must have talked to my aunt, who came out of left field when I was walking down the hallway and said how awful it was for me to ask my younger cousin, who was only 4 years younger and over the age of 30, and bully her into giving up a sentimental item like that. I'm sober, by the way, because I'm the DD. I'm stunned. I explained that I simply asked and that my cousin said she'd think about it. My aunt starts raising her voice at me to the point where my uncle comes out and asks what's going on. He immediately takes the side of my aunt but tries his best to de-escalate. I'm driving my parents home and I asked my mom about what actually happened when they were dividing everything up from my grandmother's estate. She says she doesn't want to talk about it, and now I'm being awfully weird about it. How embarrassing it was that I'd even think to ask about the knitting needles, and how it was none of my business what my cousin got, despite my cousin gleefully giving me details about all of it. Am I the asshole? Ooh, and this one has an update, and it's like kind of long, so I'll read that one after, but what the hell? No, you're not the asshole for this. That's so stupid. You would actually put these things to good use. They're sitting up in her attic. How sentimental are they if you're not even looking at them, but more than, who knows, once or twice a year whenever you go up there to like clean? Like, that's a waste. I don't even know why she got them to begin with if you are the only one. Like, you are the only one that it makes sense for them to go to because you are the knitter. I can't even believe that there would be like a discussion about this, and I can't believe that your aunt is coming at you crazy like this. She's an asshole, okay? She didn't want you to have them to begin with. She doesn't want you to have them now. It's like, can you just chill out? Like, I hate that. I hate that. Not an asshole. And now, since the update is so long, rather than reading what other people have to say, I'm just going to read the update. So, it says, update. I talked to my cousin, talked to my mom. Here are the facts I've been able to piece together. My aunt resents my mom due to the close relationship she had with my grandfather. They were twin braided and did everything together up until he died. My aunt never had that and holds that against her to this day. My mom regrets not fighting harder for the knitting needles. She said she didn't want to fight for equal money because my aunt claimed my cousins needed the monies for debts. She knew I didn't care about the money anyway and assumed it was fine. She was right. Edit, digging more into this with my mom, as apparently there's some issue with how an estate is distributed and the story I've been told. Edit, update. There apparently was a mutual agreement between my mom and all of her siblings to distribute more inheritance money to my aunt's kids due to financial issues. This was filed appropriately. My aunt also apologized for getting on my case in the car. She said she hadn't realized how much the knitting needles meant and assumed I just asked out of nowhere. It wasn't out of nowhere. I gave her more context and she apologized for not asking. Cousin believes my aunt has a personality disorder. She and my other cousins tolerate her. Thanksgiving was at my cousin's house because her mom lords it over when it's at their parents' house. Cousin had no idea she got more of an inheritance. She apologized for being so flippant about it. She thought we all got the same. I told her not to worry. I wasn't concerned about who got what, just about the needles. We had a bit of a laugh over it because some of you are right. Things like this rip families apart and all I wanted was some damn knitting needles. Cousin also said she had no idea I asked for the knitting needles. She said my aunt claimed no one wanted them, which was a lie. Oh my god, that's insane. That's like your way of getting back at your sister. Like, that's crazy. Cousin agreed that I should have the knitting needles. We plan on getting lunch this week and talking more about the family drama. Thank you to the folks who offered incredibly thoughtful insight into this. A few of you opened my eyes to the idea that there was something more without making up really awful things about my family. Wow, that's a crazy ending to this story, but you know what? I'm glad that we got to hear what the ending was. I'm really glad that your cousin agreed to let you have the knitting needles. It's kind of insane that her mom didn't say to her, like, hey, like, you know, your cousin wants those. She actually knits. She would use them. You know, she kind of always had this resentment towards your mother. And so just because of that, anything that you wanted was automatically like, well, no, I think it should go to my daughter because this, that, and the other. And your mom's over here, like, trying to be peacemaker, doesn't want to make a hard situation harder. And then on top of that, her kids got more money. Like, damn. I mean, you know what? I'm not going to go as far as to say the aunt is an asshole, just in case what the cousin is thinking about her mother having maybe a personality disorder, if that's true. I mean, hey, I don't want to pass judgments on somebody for maybe something that they can't fully control. I'm really not sure. All I know is that's crazy. What a wild story. But I'm really glad that you ended up getting your knitting needles in the end. You deserve them. This one is titled, Am I the Asshole Because I Won't Let My Nieces Use My Crafting Supplies Even Though It Would Be a Bonding Experience. I worked at a craft store through college and for a few years after, and over the years I've grown quite the collection of items. I do a mix of things like sewing, painting, knitting, etc. My sister has always acted like anything anyone in the family owns is community property, and she'll just up and start using someone's things, eats their food, etc. without asking first. I've always disliked this behavior, and she knows but ignores it. This extends to her kids, my nieces. While they're great kids, I don't really enjoy spending a lot of time with them these days. They're very, very loud and shrieky, giggle fits and yelling and dancing and singing all the time, which is totally, completely, absolutely normal, and they should continue to do all of the above at their own house. Well, my sister has become obsessed with the idea, and I'm going to pass on a lot of my crafting supplies to the girls and teach them all the crafts that I know. I've already told her that if she wants me to teach them anything, they will have to be a little older and more mature, and she'll need to buy the supplies. She keeps saying they can just use yours, despite me saying no, they can't, over and over again. It came to a head when she sent them to me for a weekend so she could work. She told them when they got here that I was going to spend the weekend teaching them how to sew. I had to explain to two little girls who were all excited that no, we weren't going to do that. Sister and I got into a huge fight about it, and she kept calling me selfish and saying that she doesn't understand what the big deal is and why I can't share with my nieces. I told her that she needs to get over the idea that, but it's family, is a valid excuse to act entitled to everyone's property. She just keeps telling me I'm self-obsessed and mean. Am I the asshole? Do I owe my nieces my supplies and time and energy just because we're related? No! I can't stand people that act like that. Like, no, I worked hard for my stuff, and it's mine, and I'm going to do what I want with it, okay? You are absolutely not obligated to share anything with anybody. Even if they're kids, it doesn't matter. Those aren't your kids. Maybe this is going to be a hot take, and I'm sorry, but truthfully speaking, your decision to have kids does not have to be a burden on everybody else. People do not have to cater to the fact that you have children and you want to provide your children a certain, activity or anything like that. Just because someone has the supplies to do so doesn't mean that they have to do it for your kids. You get them the stuff. And then I'm sure that your sister would be more than happy to show them how to do it. And the same thing goes for like the food and stuff too. If I put myself something in the fridge that I'm going to have later on in the day, I'm really looking forward to it, whatever. And I come home and I found out that my sister ate it without asking, I would spend the night in jail. I would. And then also, it's like when she's been so clear and firm and like set these boundaries and told you like, yeah, no, that's not going to happen, or you have to buy them the stuff, or I'll go ahead and teach them when they're old enough and more mature and they can handle it. And you are acting like you've never heard this before and you drop them off anyways. And you're like, girls, guess what you're going to do? It's like, no, your sister never agreed to do all that. So you need to chill. You need to stop. And so, no, original poster, definitely not an asshole. I don't care if that's a hot take, it's how I feel. And let's see what other people have to say. Someone said, you should go to her house and just start going through her stuff and be like, but we're family. This one says, not the asshole. As a huge crafter who does a little bit of everything, crafting is expensive. My supplies aren't free for whoever walks into the room. If your sister wants you to teach her kids a craft, she should at least pay for the supplies. Exactly. This one says, not the asshole. Your sister is very entitled, especially deciding for you that you'll teach them how to sew. Like, it's not a super kid-friendly craft to begin with. You'd have to have an established teaching relationship first. It's a bit of a dumb choice. It's okay for you to set boundaries you feel appropriate in response to her behavior. Not the asshole, and everyone in this thread who says you are lets people walk all over them for their own comfort. You set a boundary, she ignores it. If she doesn't want her kids to get bored at your house, it's her job to send them with something entertaining. My cousins come to my house and I tell them I don't have anything fun for them to do because I'm not letting them touch my video games. Because they break everything. It's not your job. She needs to stop, like ASAP Rocky. Yeah, I agree. You so graciously agreed to even let them come over because you kind of can't handle them at this moment. You know, these aren't your kids. You're not required to handle them. That's the thing. People don't need to bend over backwards because you decided to have kids and then you want to leave them with people. Like, no. So you better send them with their own stuff because they ain't using mine. No. I don't know if that's a hot take, but not the asshole, in my opinion. All right, next story is titled, Am I the Asshole for Selling Larger Sweaters for More? I, 21 female, crochet mostly as a hobby. I recently started selling a few pieces here and there, mainly to keep paying for supplies. I charge based on how many stitches the project took, since it's a convenient way for me to factor in both materials and my time spent. I sold a sweater to my friend Molly, not her real name, for somewhere around $150, which is pretty cheap for a handmade sweater. Molly's friend Steph, not real name, complimented her sweater, and Molly got her in touch with me to see about me making one for her too, which I was excited about because I've never had a stranger interested in my pieces before. The problem? Molly is a pretty small person, and Steph is not. Molly's sweater took less time and yarn for me to make than Steph's will, so I thought it was fair to price accordingly. Steph says I'm being fat-phobic and that my prices should be the same since they are both sweaters. And Molly said to me privately, maybe just lower the price so she drops the issue. I don't want to upcharge Steph to be unfair, but I also don't want to undersell myself since I put many hours into these pieces. Normally I just ignore what Steph says, because I know from experience that people don't respect fiber art, but since Molly is suggesting I do what she say, I'm not sure. Am I the asshole? And then there is an update. It says, kinda crazy thing happened Monday about this. Steph complained to Molly at work about the whole situation, and Molly got very upset with her. That was a surprise because Molly tends to avoid conflict at all costs, but she said she was frustrated with Steph talking about me behind my back. A sweet person like Molly snapping at her was apparently enough for Steph to decide to have a conversation with me face to face, and we were able to come to a sort of understanding. This was all very confusing and stressful, and I don't think it's worth it. I have decided to stop making clothing for anyone who isn't a close friend and just stick with plush toys. Thanks for everyone who gave some input. Oh, wow. Listen, I ain't no size 2 or 4 or 6, okay? Like, so I know that if I was going to make myself a sweater, it would take a lot more material than it would if I were making something like for my stepdaughter, for example, or my niece. And I think that if I thought about it logically, I mean, I am coming from the perspective of the crafter though, right? And I think that just a lot of people don't have that mentality, but I would understand why mine would cost more, you know? it's bigger, it's more material, it's going to take more time. The original poster never said anything rude, but she just is being realistic with what the cost is going to be. That's definitely not fat phobic, because I understand like the thought process. I think where they're kind of like not seeing eye to eye is that Steph is thinking, well, if I go to like, I don't know, online, Amazon, Walmart, Target, whatever, if I go to a store, all the sweaters are going to be $15, right? No matter what size I'm buying. But it's like, you got to understand, those things are machine made. People didn't painstakingly take the time to make that item by hand. So yeah, they should all be the same price, because it was the same exact amount of like time spent making it. Even though, yeah, maybe it's more material, but obviously stores aren't going to get sales if they price their items differently just because they're different sizes. And truthfully told, it doesn't really take much longer to make a larger item in that case. But fiber arts and handmade items are like way different. It is going to take a lot more hours, a lot more time, a lot more materials in order to make a larger piece of clothing. And she's still willing to do it, but she does need extra money. And I understand why, like, maybe she got offended or something, but truth be told, it's like, I see why they did it. So no, they're definitely not an asshole for charging more for this piece. But anyway, I guess the update says like they decided to just let it go. They're not going to do it after all, and they're not going to even make clothing for anybody who isn't a close friend anymore. So that's kind of like, wow. But you know what? Maybe that's a good rule of thumb, because people who are really close to you, they'll take the time to listen to you. They'll understand like why you're doing the things that you're doing. And people that don't really know you that well, or don't know really anything about fiber arts or anything like that, they're just going to brush you off and think that you're trying to, squeeze them of every dime that they've got. And it's like, no, that's not the case. But it's like, you're asking me to do a lot here. So not the asshole. And let's see what other people have to say. This one says, not the asshole. For cheap machine-made clothing, it makes sense to keep everything the same price, since the materials and labor are a much lower part of the price of the item. You wouldn't say that a quilter who sold an 8-foot quilt for more than a 6-foot quilt was tall phobic. Exactly. This one says, not the asshole. Fellow crocheter here. Larger project equals more yarn, more of your time. You aren't the asshole, and you certainly are not fat phobic for wanting to be compensated properly. Sadly, a lot of people who aren't crafters don't understand just how much your materials and time is worth. Exactly. This one says, not the asshole. I buy mostly handmade or secondhand clothes, so big difference in prices. You don't like the price? You move on. Handicraft is expensive, and you can go to Shein if you want something cheap. Molly shouldn't tell her friend how much she paid in the first place. She contacted her with you, and it's you who tells the price. I mean, yeah. I would probably say it too, though. Like, if the friend was like, oh my gosh, like, your sweater's so beautiful, where'd you get it? And I was like, oh my god, like, my friend Rita made it, and, like, handmade, it's all crocheted. And it's like, oh my gosh, how much did she charge you to make that? I would probably say too, like, oh, she charged me $150, blah, blah, blah. Oh, can you, like, give me her contact info? Yes. But, who knows? Maybe Molly doesn't know that the price would be more. But you know what? I also love the fact that Molly stood up for you in this scenario, especially when you say she's not really that type of person. She doesn't like conflict. I love that. You go, Molly. You back up your friend. But anyway, yeah, not the asshole. And I mean, I don't think that Steph is an asshole, but it's just definitely one of those like ignorant situations. Like, she just doesn't understand the gravity of what exactly it is that she's asking and why it would cost more. And the fact that she's calling you fat phobic over it is kind of insane. Like, that's such a reach. All right, and the last story that we're going to be reading for today is titled, Am I the Asshole for Introducing My Step-Cousin to a Girly Hobby? I have a feeling this one's going to piss me off. I am a 14-year-old male. I live with my grandma, and she really likes to knit. I learned to knit from her when I was little, and I really enjoy it. Just when I'm bored or have free time, I'll knit. My family doesn't care, and it has caused no problems so far. My uncle got married, and he has a stepson who is 7 years old. We've all been getting on quite well. I gave him a beanie for his birthday that I knitted, and he was really interested in how I made it. So I told him what knitting was, and he was really excited and wanted to try it too. The next time we met, I brought my old knitting needles and told him I could teach him. His mom heard and wasn't very happy and asked what I was doing. I told her that he wanted to learn to knit, and she was a bit upset about it and said that he didn't need to learn it and took away the knitting needles. I thought it was some age problem, like he's too young to handle knitting needles, but my uncle told me that she was upset about it because she thinks that boys shouldn't have these kinds of hobbies and that she wasn't happy with me introducing a girl's thing to her son. I was kind of offended, but I didn't say anything. The next time there was a gathering, she sternly pulled me aside and said that now her son wouldn't stop asking for knitted things and wanted to learn how to knit, and scolded me for introducing it in the first place. I felt kind of wronged, so we had an argument about it, and I didn't know if I was in the wrong for it. Am I the asshole? Lord have mercy. This stupid lady. Her. What a stupid I knew this story was gonna piss me off. I just fucking knew it. There are no such thing as girl hobbies and boy hobbies. If a girl wants to go out and play football, let the girl go out and play football. If a boy wants to sit inside and knit or crochet or paint or learn how to do makeup, damn, just let the damn kids express themselves. You create horrible adults when you stifle your kids' creativity because you're scared that they're gonna, like, what the hell is the issue here? Oh my gosh, it's giving internalized homophobia. I hate it. Maybe not even internalized, actually. This seems pretty blatant to me. This is so stupid. This is so stupid. Okay, first of all, there is never a situation in which I would ever say that a child, you're 14 years old, the original poster is 14 years old. I would never say that they are an asshole, okay? About practically anything. You're a child. You can't be an asshole. You're a child. But gosh dang, about something like this, you wanted to teach a younger kid how to knit because they brought it to you too. It's like they were like, oh my gosh, like, how did you make this? You were like, oh my gosh, I knitted it. Do you want to learn how to knit? And they're like, yeah, you know. And then they're, you know, truthfully, I thought that it was going to be the dad, like the stepfather, the uncle, who was going to be the one to be like, nah, don't teach them girly hobbies. I don't know why I feel like they talk like that. But it was the mom. If I keep talking about this, I'm just going to get even more and more worked up. I'm going to let it go. No, you're not an asshole. You are an angel. You are a sweetheart. And I think that lady needs a swift reality check. Let's see what other people have to say. Let's see if people can speak more eloquently than I can. This one says, not the asshole. Ignore those idiots who tell you that it's a girly hobby and do what you like. Not sure how you can teach your step-cousin. Probably only if he comes to your place, as his parents seem to be bucketheads and will not allow this. All kids need hobbies. Exactly. This one says, not the asshole. Granted, I've never actually learned to knit, but from what I know about it, the vagina isn't actually part of it. I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe it's to hold the yarn. I'd be trying to get an adult, possibly my grandma, to intervene on my behalf. You're 14 and she's out here being accusatory to you. Tell your grandma the whole story that you posted here and ask her for help. Either to tell this woman to back off or maybe even set her straight, depending on what your grandma thinks. Honestly, that's a good idea. This one says, knitting isn't just for girls, not the asshole. And then they quoted a magazine article about World War I that says, soldiers and sailors themselves, this is World War I, so all guys, also became knitters. Wounded veterans knitted in hospitals as a rehabilitative measure. The Lafayette House, a New York City convalescent home for wounded veterans, offered knitting instruction. Allied and enemy prisoners of war also knitted, both to make clothing for themselves and to pass the time. And if you search, there are plenty of examples of guys who knit. And you know, yeah, I think like nowadays it's like way more common to find men who knit or crochet or, you know, do a bunch of like quote unquote girly hobbies or whatever. And, you know, I do still find it rare to even come across them. And when I do, I'm so enthralled by it. I'm like, yes, I love to see a man knitting, you know, or crocheting or anything like that. A big shout out real quick to Chris over at CA Creative Loops, Chris Allen's Creative Loops. He's a man. He crochets. His stuff is gorgeous. He makes amazing wearables. You guys should go check him out if you'd like. This is his channel icon. Go give him a subscribe if you want. But I remember when I would always see him commenting on my videos. But like his @name is just CA Creative Loops, and the picture isn't of him, so I just always automatically assumed like it was a woman. And then one day he tagged me in a video, like he did the crochet creator tag and he tagged me in it to do it. And then when I saw the video, I was like, oh my gosh, this is a guy, like, you know, and it was so cool to see that a guy is crocheting out here. But you know what? I really just feel like it shouldn't be that way. We should have way more crocheters and knitters and crafters who are men. But it's probably because of people like the mother in this story that we don't. Boys get their creativity stifled all the time because people are like afraid of like giving them girly hobbies. Like, damn, just let them live. Oh my God, you would have way more happy, amazing boys and men out here in this day and age if you just let them be kids. Just let them have fun. Let them try things. If I keep talking about this, I'm just gonna get extremely pissed off. So I'm gonna go ahead and drop it now. And those are the stories that I had to share with you guys today. Thank you all so much for being here. As always, I so appreciate you. I don't have too many backlogged right now, but just so you guys know, I also do a series on this page where I read your guys' submitted stories. So they don't have to be crazy stories like r/I'm at the they can be fun like memories that you have from doing the craft that you love or experiences you've had. You know, stories of gifts that you've given or things that didn't go quite as expected. Any kind of story that you like to share or, you know, whatever you got. I'm always here to listen. I always have my email linked down below so you guys can send me your stories and I could read them for videos. The video series in question is reading subscriber stories. But also in that series, I do share your guys's like whips, finished projects. If you guys want to send me pictures of those as well. I love sharing your guys's work. So anyway, feel free to send me whatever you guys got. At the time of filming this video, we are like this close to 4,000 subscribers, you guys. Like, what? What? That's crazy. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. I just can't thank you all enough for always being here, just being the best. You guys are just the best. And I don't know, kind of like piggybacking off of what I was just saying at the end of that last story. I hope that all of you feel like this little crafty community, this little crafty space that we have here on this channel specifically is inclusive and loving of every single person out there. I don't give a what your sexual orientation is, what your gender is, what your religion is, the color of your skin. Everybody is welcome in my beautiful little corner of the internet, okay? Because that's what I cultivate here. And if anybody has a problem with that, you can skedaddle. I don't care about you being part of my almost 4K, okay? We are loving and inclusive here. And, wow, I just really appreciate you all. I can't say it enough. So, go out, do something lovely today. If you have to go to work, make sure it's a good day, okay? Smile at somebody. Get yourself a cute little sweet treat. Fall is coming around. All the stores are bringing out all their pumpkin spice stuff. Treat yourself. Be nice to yourself today. Have an amazing day. I hope everybody has an amazing rest of your day, week, month, night, whatever you're having. Please enjoy yourself. And I will see you all in the next one. Mwah. Bye.